Welcome back, Outlaws. On today's adventure, we head out to Pine Valley, California to check out the local area and do a hike through Noble Canyon. So stay tuned. Being a local and a native to this region, this is one of the many beautiful places that you can get out with your family and friends to explore. Today, we're going to be hanging out and visiting with some of our Outlaws family that lives in this beautiful valley. The plans for today's adventure have changed just a little bit. It's about 90 degrees outside today. Coming up on the right is one of our favorite places to stop while we're in town. The Frosty Burger. After a long day of mountain biking, off-roading, or hiking, this is the best place to come for a burger and an ice cream. Today's adventure and hike was supposed to take us to the Noble Canyon mines, but because of the rugged terrain and the temperature, we've chosen to spot them from a distance and make that hike on a cooler day. And now for a little description and history of the area. Nestled in a valley surrounded by rolling hills and towering peaks reaching 6,000 feet, rocky knolls amidst a river of trees that flow through the valley and greet the slopes of the adjacent mountains. An Eden amidst the dry, parched chaparral. An oasis dense with pines, manzanita, and centuries-old oak trees that once shaded only the Indians that inhabited the region. El Valle de los Pinos, as this beautiful mountain valley was known before 1869, describes the abrupt change in scenery that only nature can explain. The surrounding desert terrain complements the unique valley of over 1,200 acres, where the cedars and pines flourish amidst the lush green meadows of sage and wild lilac. Early settlers of the region included the Cocopah and Kumeyaay Indians, and later the Machados family of Old Town, who had come to California as pioneers in the late 18th century. Don Machado and his wife Serafina operated a cattle grazing station and lived out of an adobe house that they had built. In 1869, former Butterfield stagecoach driver Captain William S. Emery and his wife settled in the area. After a while, they renamed El Valle de los Pinos to its literal translation of Pine Valley. This valley now boasts one of the oldest names in the county. Captain Emery and John Ross, a Canadian working for him, soon built a log house, and then Emery quickly sent for his wife and children. A covered wagon and 6 mules were sent for Mrs. Emery and her children. As there was no direct route between San Diego and Pine Valley, they had to head south through Tijuana and east through Tecate and Campo, a route which by the afternoon of the 4th day put them in Pine Valley. The Emerys remained in Pine Valley and published a family newspaper. Their home became a gathering point for cattlemen in the neighborhood who came to hear music and listen to the readings. Another era of pioneering hit Pine Valley in 1870 when 12-year-old Charles Emery found a rock with the glimmer of quartz. Known to often indicate the presence of gold, gold fever in Pine Valley was ignited. Although there is evidence that the Spaniards had long before frequented the valley for its gold ore, it was not until word got out in 1870 that the area became a hotspot for mining. The Noble brothers from Ohio were the first to stake a claim in Pine Valley and hoped to find the other end of the rich Stonewall mine located in Cuyamaca. The Stonewall mine had proved to be an extremely profitable operation, boasting several mine buildings including a 20-stamp mill, blacksmith and machine shops, a boiler room, and a sawmill. However, the Nobles found only veins that averaged 1.5 inches thick, and to get at it, they had to remove large amounts of granite. Most of their mines were not worth much, and other than the Treasury mine, which turned out to be quite successful, the Noble brothers made most of their profit by selling and reselling their mines. When a vein was found in a low production mine, they would sell it to someone thirsty for instant riches. However, the gold would soon dry up and the purchaser would be unable to pay off their debt. So the mine was repossessed and the nobles started the process again. Their profits, along with the abundance of water in Noble Canyon, enabled the nobles to open a 2-stamp water mill in 1889, which was later enlarged to a 5-stamp water mill. The stamps were heavy pistons made of solid iron about 6 inches in diameter that were driven up and down by a crankshaft spindle which pounded the ore into dust. The dust was sent down a chute onto canvas sheets and then washed in water that removed the lighter worthless particles, but left behind the heavier pieces that often contained gold. The final process involved either sending the gold dust to a smelter or placing it in the cyanide solution in order to isolate the gold from the other minerals. Claims in Noble Canyon have been worked sporadically since the early 1900s by Noble Mines Incorporated, and small shipments of gold were recorded in 1938, 1940, and 1944. But it was not until the late 1960s that large-scale mining was again attempted. With new machinery and techniques available, gold mining was once again profitable. Noble Mines Incorporated, which owns the claims, brought in Vern Harkness, an employee of Union Carbide in Washington who had extensive mining experience. After a year of work and $33,000 later, the mines were ready to produce gold again. The process offered little chance to get rich quick. The ore was first heated to remove any moisture present. This made it easier to crush. After the ore was crushed into a fine powder, concentrates of gold and silver were separated in a flotation tank. The result of the process was not sackfuls of gold nuggets or silver, but rather 5-gallon cans of blackish crystals, which were then sent to smelting firms in Arizona. The 5-gallon cans of ore, each weighing more than 300 pounds, would bring at least $3 a pound. Harkness's refining mill handled close to 15 tons of ore a day, which yielded anywhere from 10 to several thousand pounds of sellable minerals. Harkness and 2 associates in the venture, Don Moore and Steve Reed, worked 8 claims in the mountains, 4.5 miles north of Pine Valley, but concentrated on 3 mines, the Treasury Mine, the Eureka Mine, and the Bayview, which offered the most potential. A $250,000 yearly profit for Harkness and the Noble Creek Mines. Mill and Development Company continued for several years. In a little while, we'll make it within sight of one of the Noble Canyon mines. I'll point it out when we get there. One does not begin to be a resident of Pine Valley for very long without becoming aware of the threat of fire in the area. One of the darker episodes in Pine Valley history occurred on the dates of September 26th through the 30th, 1970, when the Laguna Kitchen Creek fire consumed a total of 185,000 acres. The fire was first reported to the fire department at 6:15 a.m. on Saturday, September 26th. A helicopter responded to the report, but was forced to turn back because of the high winds over the Pine Valley area. Emergency units were called in, including the fire retardant planes, but were withdrawn because of the high winds rendered them non-effective. Control of the fire without the cooperation of the elements was almost impossible. As the wind increased, the fire was burning at a rate of 4,000 acres per hour and traveled 32 miles in 30 hours. By the time the fire had been contained, a total of 185,000 acres, 388 homes, 1,000 other structures, and 23 vehicles and 800 miles of fencing were burned. Old-timers report at least 7 large fires in the area since 1928, including the Conejos Fire on August 16, 1950, which was not contained for 6 days and burned an estimated of 44,000 acres. The scars of this fire can still be seen where it's burned down the hill from Guatai to Pine Creek Road. In spite of the obvious vulnerability of the valley to fire, the general feeling remains. You don't leave something you love when it's threatened. You stay and fight. And if there's damage, you repair. If your home is lost, you rebuild. This connection between the people and the land is further evidenced by the abundance of horse stables and the extensive riding trails that stretch throughout the valley. While out hiking, the occasional sound of the rush of the freeway reminds one of the busy world not far away. The Pine Valley Bridge hangs in the distance 450 feet above the creek. The 34 million pound concrete segments that brought the Interstate 8 past the town in 1974 are a marked contrast to the surroundings. We're reaching the point now where we may be able to see our future goal and our next hike. There it is, perched on the side of the hill, just out of reach on this hot day. When it cools down, we'll be coming back to take a closer look. The rest of the outlaws headed down the hill ahead of us, but Reuben and I had to forge forward so we can at least put our eyes on the target. We'll be making our way back down the hill now. Many throughout the centuries have come to revere the valley's natural beauty, and it has been speculated that perhaps it was once a large lake. As you look down, you can see how the pines grow around what might have well been the old beach of such a lake. Charles Emery once said, "It seems only fitting that the trees having grown in such a heavenly area were used in the building of the San Diego Mission." As the heart of the mountain empire, Pine Valley remains a window to its past, every era having left its mark. The surrounding terrain remains as rugged as those who first settled in the area, and the vistas remain as peaceful as the valley's way of life. Noble Canyon has some of the best mountain bike riding trails in the area. It is actually 3 rides in one, a descent from the alpine meadows through the oak forests to the dry desert. Noble Canyon is considered to be one of the best downhill trails around Southern California. It is technically difficult with narrow single track and gnarly rocks with tight switchbacks. This ride takes you through 3 distinct ecosystems. You start out in the alpine meadows and oak trees that transitions into typical Southern California chaparral, and then finally into the arid desert climate near the Anza Borrego Desert. At some times of the year, you can still start your ride with plenty of snow on the ground, and by the end of the ride, be in the 85-degree desert heat. This is normally considered an advanced ride. This ride will be fun for intermediate riders, but you most likely will find yourself doing some walking over downhill obstacles. Just like any adventure, always research what you're getting into, bring plenty of water and some snacks to eat along the way, and take pictures and leave only footprints. We hope you enjoyed coming on this little adventure with us and learning a little bit about the history of Noble Canyon and Pine Valley. On the way out, we noticed some unusual trees that I believe are trail marker trees. These have been here for many, many years, and I believe that they mark the trail to something important. These trees were intentionally shaped with distinctive characteristics that convey that the tree was shaped by human activity rather than deformed by nature or disease. Due to the history of the area, I strongly believe that these were deformed by Spanish explorers, Native Americans, or early pioneers. But checking these out closer is an adventure for another time. If you enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing to the channel, giving us a like, and sharing it with somebody that you know. And until the next adventure, as always, thanks for watching.